The sun had begun to set on the horizon, tinting the sky with shades of orange and purple, when I decided it was time to visit the village library. Since childhood, I have always been drawn to those dusty books and the secrets they held. The library, a simple wooden building, was a sacred place for me. It was there that I spent hours immersed in stories of heroes and villains, of legends and myths that shaped the culture of our land. Upon entering, the smell of old wood and the almost reverent silence enveloped me. The shelves were filled with books, and I felt like an explorer in an unknown land. I walked slowly between the shelves, running my fingers along the spines of the books, until a particular volume caught my attention. It was a little further ahead, almost hidden, as if it were waiting for me. It was a worn scroll, wrapped in a dark fabric cover that nearly blended with the shadow of the shelf. Carefully, I unrolled the scroll and began to read. The first line gave me a shiver. The last digit of the year of birth is the key to uncovering past lives. I was completely intrigued. What could this mean? How could a simple number somehow influence a person's experiences in past lives? It was then that I decided I needed to share this with Mei Lin and Zhang Jun, my childhood friends. They had always been my anchor, the people I felt comfortable discussing anything with. As soon as I left the library, anxiety began to grow in my chest. What would they think? Would they be as interested as I was? That night, we gathered at Mei Lin's house. The atmosphere was cozy. The soft light of the lantern illuminated the small space, and the aroma of homemade food filled the air. Mei Lin was preparing a traditional dish, and Zhang Jun had already arrived. As soon as I walked in, they greeted me with warm smiles. "Li Wei, it's great to see you. I was thinking about you," said Mei Lin, with her gentle and welcoming manner. "Hi, Mei Lin." "Hello, Zhang Jun," I replied, trying to hide the excitement that consumed me. "You won't believe what I found today at the library." Zhang Jun, with his playful demeanor, raised an eyebrow. "What did you discover? A hidden treasure? A map to El Dorado? Something even more interesting," I exclaimed, pulling out the scroll I had kept in my backpack. "Look at this." I unrolled the scroll on the table and let them see. Mei Lin's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "What is this, Li Wei?" "It's a scroll that talks about how the last digit of our year of birth can help us understand our past lives," I explained, my voice full of enthusiasm. "They say it can give us insights into who we were and how that relates to who we are today." Zhang Jun frowned, intrigued. "This is curious. But how does it work exactly?" "I don't know all the details," I replied, "but it seems that depending on the last digit, you can discover aspects of your personality or experiences you lived in other lives." Mei Lin, always the dreamer, rested her chin on her hand. "This is fascinating. Do you really think there could be some truth to it?" "Of course," I asserted, feeling a wave of confidence. "We always talk about the challenges we face in our lives. What if those challenges are reflections of something we lived before?" Zhang Jun leaned forward, interested. "So, what are we going to do? Should we find out what our last digits are?" "Yes," I replied, excited. "And then we can investigate what that might mean for us." The excitement grew as we began discussing our birth years. "I was born in 1990, I said, "which means my last digit is 0. "I'm from 1992, said Mei Lin, "so my last digit is 2. Zhang Jun made an exaggerated gesture. "That means I'm the oldest here. I was born in 1988, so my last digit is 8. "This is amazing," I exclaimed. "Let's find out what each of these digits represents." The conversation flowed naturally, as if we had discovered a new world together. Mei Lin, always the thinker, began to reflect aloud. "What do you think 0 represents? Something like a new beginning or a complete cycle?" Zhang Jun, with his playful manner, wanted to joke. "Maybe you were a great leader in another life, Li Wei. Or perhaps even a monk seeking enlightenment." I laughed at the idea, but there was a part of me that really wondered if there was any truth to it. And what about you, Mei Lin? What do you think your two represents? Maybe I was a companion to someone important, she replied with a shy smile, or a mediator between people. That makes sense, doesn't it? I've always wanted to help others. That could be true, said Zhang Jun, looking at her with admiration. And what about me? What could my 8 mean? Well, I began, 8 is considered a number of power and ambition. Maybe you were someone who fought for justice or for a greater cause. Zhang Jun became thoughtful. That makes me think. What if our current lives are somehow linked to what we lived before? Are we here to correct past mistakes? The idea hung in the air, full of possibilities. The night passed quickly, filled with laughter and reflections as the embers of curiosity warmed us. What could the future hold for us? Could it be possible that the answers to our insecurities and aspirations were hidden in past lives? When we finally said our goodbyes, restlessness was present in each of us. I went home with a racing heart, thinking about what we could discover together. The scroll was just the beginning of a journey that promised to be extraordinary. And although we did not know where this would lead us, there was a feeling that we were about to uncover something profound about ourselves and the destiny that united us. The rising sun filtered its rays through the trees, creating a play of light and shadow around the village. I walked toward the house of the wise elder, my heart pulsating with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Mei Lin had spoken about her, an elderly woman who possessed vast knowledge of past lives and who, according to legend, could help those seeking to understand more about themselves. The previous day was still fresh in my mind, the conversation with Li Wei and Zhang Jun echoing in my thoughts. The idea of discovering more about our past lives left me restless, yet at the same time, excited. When I arrived at the elder's house, I found her sitting at a small altar, surrounded by dried herbs and ancient objects. Her gaze was deep and penetrating, as if she could see beyond the surface. "Mei Lin," she said in a soft voice, "you have come in search of answers." "Yes, ma'am," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. "My friends and I discovered something about the last digit of our birth year, and we are curious about what it might mean for our past lives." The elder nodded slowly, as if pondering my words. Each digit carries a special meaning. The last digit of a birth year can indeed reflect the essence of each person. But remember, the truth may not be easy to accept. I felt a chill in my stomach as I heard her words. "What do you mean by that?" I asked, anxiety growing within me. "Prepare to face truths that you may not be ready to hear," she replied, her eyes fixed on mine. "Each of you has a destiny that intertwines with the past. What you will discover may be both liberating and painful." "We are ready," I declared, though I wasn't entirely sure that was true. "What should we do?" "First, you must connect with your roots. The ceremony you and your friends intend to hold is an important step. But remember, the visions you have may be only fragments. It takes patience and courage to understand what they mean." I left the elder's house with my mind racing. Her words reverberated within me, creating a mix of hope and fear. I decided I would talk to Li Wei and Zhang Jun about the ceremony as soon as we met again. This was not a journey I wanted to face alone. By late afternoon, we gathered in a small field outside the village, where the grass was soft and the wildflowers danced in the wind. The sky was tinged with orange and pink, a living painting that seemed to reflect the intensity of what we were about to do. "Mei Lin, were you able to speak with the elder?" Li Wei asked, his gaze curious. "Yes. She said that the last digit of the birth year can reveal much about us, but she also warned that we should be prepared to face uncomfortable truths," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. Zhang Jun frowned, worried. "Do you think we are ready for this?" What if we discover something we don't want to know? We have no choice, Li Wei interjected. We need to understand who we are, even if it means confronting the past. Besides, the elder suggested that the ceremony might help us connect with our past lives. So, what are we waiting for? Zhang Jun said, a determined glint in his eyes. Let's begin. We set up a small, improvised altar with candles, incense, and some flowers we had gathered around. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, and as we sat in a circle, a reverent silence took hold of us. I felt my heart race as I began to chant some words aloud, invoking the spirits that would guide us on this journey. May our souls connect with what was and what will be, I spoke, my voice trembling slightly. The flames of the candles danced, and a gentle breeze began to blow around us. I closed my eyes, trying to focus, and soon a strange sensation enveloped me. It was as if a veil was lifting, revealing fragments of memories that were not mine, yet seemed to resonate with my essence. Visions began to emerge. A woman wearing shining armor, bravely fighting against an invisible enemy, a field of flowers. But the scene was dark, with dark clouds covering the sky. Another image, a child running, laughing, but soon interrupted by an authoritative figure who silenced her. I wanted to understand, but the images were fleeting like flashes of light that disappeared before I could process them. Mei Lin, are you okay? Li Wei's voice brought me back to reality, and I opened my eyes, finding the worried faces of my friends. What did you see? I'm not sure, I replied, confusion consuming me. There was a warrior woman, and then something dark. Zhang Jun shook his head. I also saw things, but I can't make sense of it. It was like I was in a different place, part of a battle, and there was a feeling of loss, as if something precious had been torn from me. I saw a scene from a festival, Li Wei said, his voice trembling. But the laughter turned into screams, and there was a feeling of betrayal. I don't know what it means. The tension in the air was palpable. Each of us had experienced fragmented visions that connected us to something greater, but interpreting those images felt distant. We need to talk more about this, I suggested. Maybe the elder can help us understand. Chaku, we agreed to meet again the next day to discuss our experiences and seek more answers. As we parted ways, I felt a deep connection with my friends, as if we had crossed a portal together, even though we didn't fully know where it would lead us. The visions were still fresh in my mind, accompanied by a sense of urgency. Whatever we had discovered during that ceremony, it felt like we were just scratching the surface of something much greater than ourselves. As I returned home, my mind buzzed with questions. What did each of our visions really mean, and how did this connect to our present? The feeling that we were all intertwined in a common destiny left me restless, yet hopeful. It was as if we were on the brink of discovering not only who we were, but also who we could become. I woke up with the sun filtering through the cracks in my bedroom curtain, the soft morning warmth wrapping around me like a blanket. What had happened the night before still echoed in my mind, the visions from the ceremony still resonating in my memory. I got up, my heart racing, and went to the window, watching the village still asleep. It was a peaceful morning, but there was an expectation in the air, as if the world was telling me that something important was about to happen. My thoughts were interrupted by a light knock at the door. It was Mei Lin, her face illuminated by the morning sun. "Li Wei, are you awake?" she asked, almost bouncing with excitement. "We need to talk about what we saw last night." "I'm awake, yes. Come in," I replied, gesturing for her to sit down. She stepped inside and settled into a chair, her eyes sparkling with youthful energy. "I can't stop thinking about my vision, that battlefield, the sound of swords. I was a warrior, Li Wei," she exclaimed, her voice filled with emotion. "I had a vision too," I began hesitantly. "I was a prince, surrounded by riches but completely alone. I felt such deep loneliness. Mei Lin frowned, seeming to grasp the depth of my revelation. Do you think this means we're still dealing with those emotions in our current lives? The loneliness you felt, does it still affect you? I wasn't sure. The truth was, even surrounded by friends and family, there were moments when loneliness consumed me. Maybe. Sometimes I feel like I don't belong anywhere. Was what you saw positive or negative? I asked, trying to understand the connection between our experiences. It was positive, I think. I was fighting for a cause, defending those who couldn't defend themselves. But at the same time, there was immense pressure. I had to be strong all the time. Sometimes I feel like that pressure still exists within me. It's as if our past lives are shaping us somehow, isn't it? I commented, as I tried to piece together the puzzle that was our existence. Exactly, and we need to discover more about it, Mei Lin said excitedly, her eyes shining with determination. We need to talk to Zhang Jun. He must have something to say about his vision. I agreed, and we decided to go to Zhang Jun's house. The small path leading to his home felt familiar, but today it seemed different, as if we were walking toward an important destination. When we arrived, we found Zhang Jun sitting on the front porch, looking thoughtful. Zhang Jun, what did you see? I asked, anxious. He looked up, a mixture of confusion and sadness etched on his face. I'm not sure what I saw, he began, his voice low. I was in a field surrounded by plants. It was peaceful, but I felt a deep sadness. It was as if I was working hard, but no one recognized my efforts. A farmer, Mei Lin suggested, and Zhang Jun nodded. Yes, a farmer. I worked to support my family, but it felt like I was never valued. He sighed, looking down. Sometimes I feel that frustration still with me. I want to be recognized for what I do, but I feel like no one sees. Silence hung between us, his words resonating in our hearts. I believe we all carry something from our past, I said, trying to offer support. Maybe these visions are a call to face those issues. We need to discover how this connects to our current lives. Yes, maybe that's it, Zhang Jun replied, lifting his gaze. We need to understand our past lives so we can move forward. With this new determination, we decided to investigate more about our past lives, the connection to the village, and what each of our experiences truly meant. That afternoon, we found a quiet spot near the river that flowed through the village, where we could discuss our ideas. The sun was high, and the water shimmered like a mirror. Mei Lin began to talk about the importance of knowing the village's history, as it could give us clues about our past lives. We need to understand the context of our visions. What was happening in the village during the times we lived those lives? She said, gesturing animatedly. Zhang Jun agreed. Yes, and maybe we can find accounts of people who lived here before us. Who knows if there were figures resembling us? Let's go to the library then, I suggested. Li Wei, you can help us look for the information we need. The plan was set. We returned to the village library, a place that had always been a refuge for us. The smell of old books and the comforting silence created the perfect atmosphere for our search. We began to leaf through old records, history books, and documents that spoke about the village and its people. As we delved deeper into the research, our hearts raced with the possibility of discovering something that would change our lives. We discussed our findings, each of us sharing our ideas and theories. Mei Lin exclaimed, holding an old book, "Look at this. It talks about a revolution that took place in the village. Many people fought for justice, and some were unjustly condemned." Zhang Jun's eyes sparkled, and he leaned in, curious. This might relate to what I saw, the feeling of frustration I experienced. Maybe it has to do with these injustices. With each page we turned, we felt a deeper connection to our past lives. It was as if the past was unfolding before us, revealing secrets that had remained hidden for so long. We need to continue this research, I said, feeling the adrenaline coursing through my veins. We need to discover who we were and how our lives intertwine. In the following days, we dedicated ourselves to this tireless pursuit. Each discovery left us more intrigued, and the idea that our past lives were connected in some way became increasingly clear. We felt that the truth was within our reach, and that uncovering these mysteries could not only help us understand who we were, but also find a greater purpose for our current lives. The connection we formed was stronger than ever, and we were ready to face whatever the future held, determined to uncover the truth about ourselves and the history we shared. The sun began to set over the village, painting the sky a deep orange, when we met again, the three of us, at the small temple that had become our meeting point. There was something different in the air, a palpable electricity, as if the universe was watching us while we discussed our discoveries. Sitting around a wooden table, the candles flickered and cast dancing shadows on the walls, creating an almost mystical setting. "I can't believe all of this is connected," Maylin said, her eyes shining with the excitement of discovery. The visions, the village's history. It's as if our past lives are trying to tell us something. "Yes, but what exactly?" I questioned, feeling a knot form in my stomach. What does it mean that I was a prince? And what does that have to do with my loneliness nowadays? Frustration bubbled within me, mixed with curiosity. There was no clear answer, and that left me restless. Zhang Jun, who had remained silent until then, looked at us with a thoughtful expression. Perhaps we should investigate the history of our village more deeply. There are many details that might be hidden in the pages of books that haven't been read. The revolution that happened here. Maybe it has something to do with what we're living now. "I agree," Maylin nodded, clapping her hands on the table as if to emphasize the importance of her words. "We need to find out who the people involved were. If my vision was of a warrior and Zhang Jun's of a farmer, then perhaps there are records of their lives in history." The idea excited me. The possibility that our lives were intertwined in the village's history was fascinating. "Let's go to the library tomorrow. We need to look for documents, books about the revolution, anything that might help us understand better." The next morning, we set off toward the library, an old building that smelled of paper and history. As we entered, the shelves filled with books seemed to welcome us with a hug of wisdom. We began searching for anything that could give us clues about the revolution, the figures who led it, and how their lives might connect with ours. "Look at this," Maylin exclaimed, pulling a dusty book from the shelf. "This one talks about the revolution 30 years ago. It says there was a prince who betrayed his people in pursuit of power. Doesn't that fit your vision, Li Wei?" I felt a shiver run down my spine. "Yes. But that's just a supposition," I replied hesitantly. "I don't want this to become an absolute truth. We need more evidence." Zhang Jun, who was flipping through a notebook, raised his head with a look of discovery. "Here, it talks about a farmer who was unjustly condemned during the revolution. He fought to protect his family and his land, but was betrayed by someone very close. People never knew the truth about him." The tension in the room grew, and a sense of déjà vu enveloped me. "This could be important," I said, trying to process the information. "If I am the prince who betrayed, and you are the farmer, then this might explain the connection we feel. Our visions are not mere coincidences." Maylin, now with a serious look, said, "What if my life as a warrior was linked to the fight for justice for the farmer? Maybe I tried to correct the injustice that happened in the past." It was as if a light had been turned on in our minds. The village's history seemed somehow intertwined with our current lives in ways we hadn't anticipated. What else could we discover? With each page we turned, the feeling that we were getting closer to something greater intensified. We found accounts of people who rose against oppression, of battles fought and sacrifices made in the name of freedom, but also stories of betrayal and pain that seemed to echo in our current lives. We need to share this with the village, I suggested, excitement growing within me. If there's something we can do to correct the mistakes of the past, we must act. We cannot let these stories die. Maylin agreed, her eyes shining with determination. Yes, we need to gather the people, tell them about what we discovered. Maybe we can find a way to honor the lives that were lost. We can also help heal the wounds of the village. Zhang Jun, who had been silent, finally spoke up. What if this isn't just about correcting the past? What if it's about shaping our future? We need to unite and take action. We can't just be spectators in our own lives. The idea of uniting the village around our discoveries was powerful. We could do more than just understand our past. We could transform it into something positive, something that could bring people together and create a better future. The revolution that had divided our village could also be the starting point for reconciliation. That night, a local festival was about to begin. The vibrant colors of the lanterns adorned the streets, and traditional music echoed in the air. It was a moment of celebration, but also of reflection for us. As we gathered, the energy emanating from the event seemed to inspire us. This is the perfect moment to share our discoveries, I said, looking at Maylin and Zhang Jun. Let's find a place where we can talk to the people. We need everyone to know that their stories are connected to ours. As we walked among the food stalls and dances, our hearts beat in unison. The music and joy around us couldn't erase the gravity of what we were about to do. Finally, we found a small space surrounded by a crowd gathering to listen to the storytellers. Here, Maylin said, pointing to an empty space where we could stand in front of the crowd. Let's go! When we climbed onto the small makeshift stage, the attention of the audience quickly turned to us. I sat for a moment, taking a deep breath. What would we say? How could we explain the connection between our lives and the stories of the village? Hello everyone, I began, my voice trembling slightly. We are Li Wei, Maylin and Zhang Jun, and we have something important to share with you. Recently, we discovered that the past lives of each of us are linked to the history of our village. What we want to tell you is not only about what we discovered, but about how these stories can resonate in our lives today. Maylin continued, we found accounts of a revolution that took place here, stories of love, betrayal and sacrifice, and somehow we believe that our current lives are intertwined with these events. Each of us had visions that connected us to figures from the past, and we believe that these figures can teach us about who we are and what we can do together. The murmurs of the crowd grew louder, and I realized that something profound had been awakened in them. Zhang Jun took the floor and with a firm voice said, we believe it is time for us as a community to honor these stories. We cannot let the past be forgotten or allow the pain to continue dividing us. We need to unite, learn from our mistakes, and build a better future for all. In that moment, the atmosphere shifted. The festival, which had begun as a celebration, transformed into a moment of unity and reflection. What we were doing was more than just sharing discoveries. We were making a call to action, an invitation for everyone to join us on the journey of healing and reconciliation. The eyes of the crowd were fixed on us, and the connection we felt spread like an invisible thread, linking every heart present in that space. It was just the beginning of something greater, something that would transcend time and the lives we lived. The story was just beginning to unfold, and we were ready to face it together. The morning light filtered gently through the window of my room, bringing a sense of renewal and determination. The weight of the visions I had during the ceremony the night before still lingered in my mind, and I knew I needed to take action. The loneliness I had experienced in my past life as a prince was suffocating me, and even though I didn't know exactly how, I had to confront it. Looking in the mirror, I saw my reflection, but not just my present. I saw the man I was in another life, someone who had everything but, in return, had no one. I stood up, determined. It was time to connect with my village, with the people who inhabit it, and most importantly with my friends, Mei Lin and Zhang Jun. Each of us had experienced fragments of who we were, and now it was time to act. The sun was already high when I left the house, and the smell of fresh coffee mingled with the aroma of the damp earth from last night's rain. I walked through the streets of the village, greeting the residents I encountered along the way. Their smiles, even if shy, warmed my heart. I didn't want to just be a spectator in my own life. I needed to get involved, to make a difference. Li Wei, a familiar voice called me. It was Mei Lin, approaching me with a sparkle in her eyes. Are you on your way to the square? Yes, I'm thinking about how I can help around here, I replied, feeling excitement grow within me. And you? I was thinking of starting martial arts classes for the village children, she said, smiling. I think it could help them feel stronger and more confident. I want them to learn to fight for themselves, just like the warrior woman I saw in my vision. That's an amazing idea, Mei Lin. You really connect with that, I said, admiring her determination. I can help you if you need it. We can do this together. She nodded, and her eyes sparkled. That would be great. This way we can gather the children and teach them not only to fight, but also to come together as a community. As we talked, we felt the energy of the village around us. The children played in the square, and the sound of laughter mingled with the songs of the birds. It was a perfect setting for what we wanted to build. Hey, what about Zhang Jun? Do you think he will join us? I asked, a little worried. He seemed to be struggling with his own vision and the role he should play. I hope so. He needs to find what motivates him just as we have, Mei Lin replied, a hint of concern in her voice. Let's look for him later. With our mission clear, we headed to the square. The idea of gathering the children and teaching them something that could change their lives was thrilling. As we shared ideas on how to structure the classes, I realized I was finally breaking the chains of loneliness that had held me captive. That afternoon, we organized a small event in the square. We called the village children, and soon a crowd of curious faces gathered. Mei Lin, with her contagious energy, began demonstrating some basic martial arts moves while I supported her, encouraging the little ones to join us. Come on, everyone, let's learn together, she exclaimed, and the children, excited, started to mimic her movements. The laughter and joy of that afternoon were like balm for my soul. As we taught, I realized that, just like the warrior Mei Lin had seen, we were forming something greater than ourselves. The day passed quickly, and the square was alive with activity. When the lesson ended, the children were breathless, but their faces were lit up with proud smiles. You were amazing, I praised. Remember, true strength comes from within. Never let anyone tell you that you can't. The words flowed from me effortlessly, as if they were an extension of my own quest for connection. As the children dispersed, Mei Lin and I sat on a bench in the square, tired but satisfied. That was wonderful, she said, looking toward the horizon. I feel like we are creating something meaningful here. Yes, and this is just the beginning, I replied, feeling a spark of hope. If we can inspire them, maybe they will want to help the village too, just like us. I've been thinking about Zhang Jun, Mei Lin commented, a little pensive. He needs to find his path, just as we found ours. It was true. Zhang Jun was on an internal journey, and I wondered if he had managed to clear his thoughts. We needed him, just as he needed us. The next morning, I decided it was time to look for him. I went to Zhang Jun's house, anticipation growing within me. I knocked on the door and immediately heard footsteps. When he opened the door, his expression was different, as if there was a new determination in his eyes. Li Wei, good to see you, he said, a shy smile on his face. Hi, Zhang Jun. We were thinking about you. Maylin and I started teaching martial arts classes for the village children. Do you want to join us? I asked, hoping he felt the same energy we did. He hesitated for a moment, but then his eyes brightened. That sounds amazing, but I don't know if I'm the right person for that. Why do you say that? You are our friend, and that's what matters. Besides, we all have something to learn and teach, I said, trying to encourage him. Zhengjun took a deep breath as if gathering courage. Actually, I'm on a personal journey. After I had my vision, I realized I need to understand my past better. I need to find a purpose that helps me move forward. His words resonated within me. I understand. You may feel lost right now, but we are all discovering who we are. Come with us, and maybe this journey can help you find what you're looking for, I suggested, feeling that the unity among us was key to our discoveries. He smiled, a bit more confident. Maybe you're right. Let's do this together. That small conversation was full of promise. There was a new energy in the air, and I knew we were ready to face whatever came next, together. The connection we were creating was not just about the past, it was about the present and the future we could build. The soft morning breeze seemed to carry with it a different feeling. After months of separation, we would finally reunite. My heart raced with a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Upon arriving at the agreed place, the old village temple, where so many childhood memories were kept, I saw Mei Lin and Li Wei already waiting. Their faces, illuminated by the sunlight filtering through the trees, reflected the transformation each of us had experienced. "Zhang Jun, you look different," Mei Lin exclaimed, her smile conveying both joy and concern. "Yes, I feel that too," I replied, trying to hide the confusion that still lingered within me. Something happened during my journey. Li Wei, who had always been the most curious of the three of us, stepped closer. "What did you discover, my friend? You seem burdened by something." I took a deep breath, searching for the right words. During my journey, I found an old diary in an antique shop. The owner explained that it belonged to a man from the revolution, someone who fought for justice but was unjustly condemned. Mei Lin's eyes sparkled with curiosity. And what else was written there? The account spoke of a humble farmer, a man who dedicated his life to his family and the land but was accused of treason. The strangest part is that, as I read, I felt as if something inside me was awakening. It was as if the words resonated with the truth I had always sought, I said, as the memory of the diary flooded my mind, filling me with a mix of pain and revelation. "You can't be serious," Li Wei interrupted, almost in a whisper. "Are you saying that it is?" "I am the reincarnation of the farmer," I completed, the gravity of the revelation weighing upon us. And that's not all. The diary mentioned a prince who betrayed this farmer, and the description was so vivid. Mei Lin's eyes widened. "Are you saying that you are the farmer and Li Wei is the prince who betrayed you?" Li Wei seemed in shock, but his gaze was fixed on me, as if trying to understand the depth of the connection we were uncovering. "And you, Mei Lin? What does this mean for us?" I remember the visions I had during the ceremony," Mei Lin spoke, her voice trembling slightly. "I was a warrior, fighting against injustice. I feel that this struggle is not over. If the three of us are connected this way, then we have a responsibility together." The atmosphere was charged with emotions, and the revelation seemed to unite us in a way we never anticipated. The weight of the past was revealing itself before us, and each of us had a crucial role in this story. It was as if the lives we lived before were shaping us for this new mission. "We need to understand how we can correct these mistakes," I suggested, feeling a determination grow within me. "If our connection is true, then it is our duty to restore peace in the village and honor those who suffered." Li Wei nodded, his expression now focused. Let's work together. We can use what we learned from our past lives to bring the harmony that the village needs. And how can we do that? Mei Lin asked, looking at us with a mix of hope and uncertainty. We should seek the descendants of those who were unjustly treated. Connect the stories. If we can bring them to light, perhaps we can heal the wounds of the past and restore justice, I replied, feeling that this was the key to our mission. The three of us joined in a circle, hands intertwined, as a symbol of our new determination. Let's do this, Mei Lin said, her voice firm, for all who suffered and for ourselves. From that day on, our quest began. We visited the elders of the village, listened to their stories, and collected accounts of the revolution. Each encounter seemed to bring to light forgotten memories, not only of our pasts, but also of the stories of other lives that were touched by this tragic event. As we worked together, each of us began to feel an internal transformation. Li Wei, who had previously felt lonely, began to connect more with the villagers, helping with their harvests and listening to their stories. Mei Lin became an advocate, organizing groups of young people to discuss justice and courage, inspiring a new generation to fight for their rights. And I, in turn, sought to reconnect with the land and the simplicity of life, learning to cultivate not only the soil, but also the relationships that bound us together. One night, while working on a community project, Mei Lin pulled me aside. Zhengjun, have you ever stopped to think about how all this intertwines? Our past lives are shaping everything, even the way we interact with others. Yes, and that is both frightening and liberating at the same time, I replied. It's as if we are finally understanding what life truly means to us. We are not just living for ourselves, but for all those who came before us. Li Wei joined us, his gaze reflecting the same intensity. We need to ensure that the lessons we learned do not get lost again. Let's write down our discoveries, our story, so that future generations can learn from our mistakes. The idea of documenting our journey brought a new sense of purpose. From then on, we began to document not only our discoveries, but also the stories of the villagers and their connections to the past. It was an intense task, but it united us in ways we had never experienced before. As time passed, the village began to feel the change. People were more willing to share their stories, and a sense of community began to blossom. The energy that once seemed lost now pulsed with life and hope. That night, under a starry sky, we sat in the shade of an ancient tree that had witnessed so many stories of past lives. We are really changing something, Mei Lin said, looking at the sky. I feel that we are beginning to heal the wounds of the past. Li Wei smiled, his expression serene. And this is just the beginning. Our destinies are intertwined in a way we could never have imagined. Together, we are stronger. And together, we can face any challenge, I added, feeling that the strength of our connection transcended time and space. What had begun as a curiosity about our past lives had now transformed into a life mission. As we gazed at the stars, I realized that we were not only rediscovering our identities, but also creating a new future for the village. It was a cycle of life, death, and rebirth, and we were the protagonists of this eternal story. With each step, we were closer to restoring the harmony that had once been lost, united by bonds that defied time. Now, let's take a brief reflection. Throughout life, we often encounter situations that make us reflect on who we are and what has brought us here. The idea that the last digit of our birth year can reveal deep secrets about our past lives is a powerful metaphor. Do we carry with us experiences from past lives, influencing our current choices and challenges? Each of us carries the opportunity to learn from the past, but also to shape the future. The journey of self-discovery is ongoing, and the more we connect with our roots, the more we understand our purpose. Does the truth about our past lives help us overcome the obstacles of the present? If you enjoyed this story and feel that it inspired you in some way, please leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. What lesson did you take from this story? Do you think the last digit of your birth year might have something to reveal? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to keep up with more stories like this and other reflections that can transform your journey. Watch the upcoming videos, as you will be surprised by other beautiful and amazing stories. See you in the next video.